What's up, everybody? My name is Chris, again with New City Church, part of the discipling culture. I want to give you just another tool here for two reasons. Number one, for self-assessment, and also for like apologetics. All right. And so before we get into self-assessment and apologetics, I want to explain to you what it is we're trying to do. And so we're trying to pin down the scriptural word for love. All right. So in your terminology, in my terminology in the Western world, we use love for a multitude of places in a sentence. For example, we would say, I love my house with the same notation that I love my wife, or I love a basketball game, or I love chicken, or I love insert. Like we use the same word for that over and over, but it implies different things. All right. In the text here in the scriptures, same kind of thing happens, but they use different words. And because we only have one word for love, sometimes we lose it in translation. All right. And so what I want to do is I want to build a square for you. All right. With three forms of love that we find in the text, and then one form of love that we find in our culture. These are basically the four ways that love actually comes playing out in our life, all right? And so I'm going to turn here to John 21, and we're going to start in verse 15, and I'm going to read it to you in our language, and then I'm going to reread it to you in theirs, all right? And so here's how it works. It says, when they had finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? Yes, Lord, he said, you know that I love you. Jesus said, feed my lambs. Again, Jesus said, Simon, son of John, do you love me? He answered, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Jesus said, take care of my sheep. The third time he said to him, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him the third time, do you love me? He said, Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. Now, at face value, what you read here is Jesus asking Peter three times, do you love me? And Peter responding three times, you know that I do, with the last time having his feelings hurt. All right? Now, let me reread this to you in their language. When they had finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you agape me more than these? Yes, Lord, he said, you know that I phileo you. Jesus said, feed my lambs. Again, Jesus said, Simon, son of John, do you agape me? He answered, yes, Lord, you know that I phileo you. Jesus said, take care of my sheep. The third time he said to him, Simon, son of John, do you phileo me? Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him the third time, do you phileo me? And he said, Lord, you know all things. You know that I phileo you. So here's what's playing out. Like, why do they use different terms for the same sentence? All right. And so here's how this works. When Jesus says, Peter, do you agape me? Agape is this word that they use in the same context of John 3:16. It's for God so loved the world that he gave his only son. It's a picture of self-sacrificing love, meaning that you will give up your rights, maybe possibly even your life, for the betterment of someone else. That's agape love. That's what Jesus has done for you and I. Like he gave up his rights, he gave up his life so that you and I could succeed. And he's asking Peter, will you do that for me? And Peter responds, Lord, you know that I phileo you, saying that, Lord, I'm not going so far as to say that I will do that. What I am saying to you is that I love you in a deep form of friendship. Like I'm giving back to you the love in a deep form of friendship. Like although we come from separate parents, I love you like my own brother. And that's why Jesus responds, but do you love me in a way that you will give your life up? And it says that Peter can't respond that way. He says that he responds again like, Lord, I love you like my brother. And historically, or like if you want to follow the context of this, most theologians are in the main frame of saying that because Peter is feeling the sting of what he had done a few days prior, that he can't go so far as to say that I will do that because he's already failed once, right? And so Jesus, relenting because he loves Peter, walks away from the agape and says, will you love me like a brother? And Peter says, I will. All right. And so like if you've drawn your box out, like in that first line on the top, all right, you want to write in agape, which means like this is a love that costs you something dearly. All right. Like it's a self-sacrificing love, meaning like at your expense, people are getting better. All right. And then I want you to travel down the other side of the box, and I want you to write in the word phileo, which means like a deep form of friendship. Not just superficial, but like a deep form of loving, like your best friend in the world kind of friendship. That's how it goes. All right, so there's two ways that we see the word love being used. All right, I'm going to flip over here to Romans 12, and I'm going to read to you verse 9 again in our language, and it says, love must be sincere, hate what is evil, cling to what is good. Verse 10, be devoted to one another in love. All right, so again, let me read it to you in their text. It says, agape must be sincere. Hate what is evil, cling to what is good, be devoted to one another in storge. And so what this translates out is storge is a form of love from a parent to a child. It's best as I can describe it, like it's a protective form, like the way that you care about your children and keeping them out of harm's way. Like that's the kind of love this is. Like this is a protective form of love. All right? Meaning that the people that you're walking with, like you love them in a way to protect them from harm. And sometimes that looks like telling them truth in a way that could hurt their feelings. But that's kind of the picture that this paints for you. Is like you love them in a way that you will protect them. All right? And so as we travel on, I want you to write that word on the bottom of the box. All right? And as we travel to the last part, like you're not going to find this word in the text, but it's a word that we've adopted from the Romans, and it's called eros, E-R-O-S. Just kind of write that in, and all that means is it's where we get our word erotic from, or romantic love, like the love that a husband and a wife have in the bedroom. All right, that's exactly what it means. All right. So now we have our 4 ways or words that we use love, and let me kind of just lean into you, like if you're married and you're watching this. Like I would ask you to assess yourself, like let your disciples assess themselves in their marriage on which of these 4 pictures of love is things not going well. Like maybe name 2 or 3 where it's going good, and then name 1 that needs work, and then let them go to work on it. Like let them write a plan on why it's that way, and then letting them get to work on it. All right? And so that's just an assessment tool that we've used in the discipling culture to evaluate our marriages to keep them going well. Now, here's how I want to use this as an apologetic tool. All right? There is only one institution on this planet that incorporates all 4 of these kinds of love into the same realm, and it's simply the covenant of marriage. Like slice it any which way you want. But the only way that all 4 of these are involved in the same institution is in the covenant of marriage. All right? And that only plays out between one man and one woman. And so here's kind of what happens when this thing falls apart. So like if you remove the way that the Lord set up for marriage to work with these 4 pieces of love playing out, like if you remove the agape love, like if it's taken out, like there's no more self-sacrificing love, then the wheels begin to fall off of this. All right? And so as you travel down the side of the box and you look at that word phileo, when there's no more sacrificing love, when there's no more deep friendship, like eventually you begin to rub people the wrong way because people are human, and what was once a great friendship now becomes enemies. Or better yet, just barely getting along because the love of Christ is not pouring into that, and grace is not filling that void. All right? As you travel down the bottom of that, we remove agape love from storge, from that family love, from that protective love. Like you remove that out, there's no more protection, and what happens is protection moves into this world of indifference where we just don't care what you do anymore. And our hearts begin to grow cold because there's no infusion of God's love into that. And then if you travel up the 3rd place and you remove agape love out of eros, man, like love becomes no longer as a fulfillment piece, but as a self-satisfying piece. Self-satisfying piece leads to self-preservation piece, which leads to inroad pornography. You're not meeting my needs, so I'm not meeting yours. You're not meeting mine, so I'm not meeting yours. And a vicious cycle begins to stop because God's love is not infusing, and there's no sacrificial love in these things. And when there's no sacrificial love in storge, when there's no sacrificial love in eros, and when there's no sacrificial love in phileo, you get exactly what's been put into those, which is a cheap imitation. And it's why the marriage falls apart. And it's why thousands of people who claim to be Christians who do not infuse agape love into those things falls apart. And it's why marriage becomes the only institution where all four come to play in the same realm, bring in life and bring it to its abundance. And so I hope this helps. If you have any questions about this, holler at your spiritual parent. And man, we love you. Stay calm. Just another tool to help you defend marriage and to help you use as an assessment tool in your own life as well as those that you've walked with. Stay calm. All right, it's the Lord's plan, and disciple on.